Your Olympic hero has arrived. It's true, it's true.
You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another episode of Nostalgic Gaming Stories. Today we'll be talking about a rumor that used to be passed around back in the day, passed around the schoolyard and stuff like that. I also distinctly remember reading about it in a copy of Game Informer back in the day, and possibly PSM, or PlayStation Magazine. I think PSM was the abbreviation, but regardless, I used to get both when I was younger. But anyway, this is a fun little rumor that obviously sounds fucking ridiculous nowadays looking back on it. But back in the day, everyone thought that the PS2 was like the most powerful fucking thing ever made. And it was a console that definitely held its own, you know. It had the longest lifespan out of any console ever, so, you know, there is that. PS2 games were still getting released well into the PS3's lifespan, and in fact, just until like 2 or 3 years ago, I could still go down to Walmart and buy the GTA trilogy on PS2 brand new, so it's like, this console was not a failure. It was massively, massively successful. And because it was considered powerful hardware at the time, a lot of people made up a lot of crackpot theories about it. They thought that if you were to daisy-chain a bunch of PS2s together, they would be more powerful than any computer ever made. So enter Saddam Hussein, who everyone was scared of in the late 90s to mid-2000s, and you got a good mixture for a fun rumor that doesn't make any fucking sense. So, rumor had it that Saddam Hussein was buying up thousands of PS2s to chain them together to make a supercomputer that could basically make him unstoppable. This was supposed to be like the ultimate supercomputer because PS2s were apparently the most powerful fucking thing ever made. And it got a lot of traction where people started believing it and actually started being like, oh, PS2s are evil because of this, and oh no, he's going to destroy the world with a bunch of PS2s. Obviously, looking back on this, it doesn't make any sense given the way the PlayStation 2 works. The fact that its hardware is nowhere near as advanced as, you know, PCs were at the time, let alone now. Especially now. So it was just a crazy crackpot theory that was passed around, and it was funny. It was really funny. I quite enjoyed it. But let's go ahead and take a look at an article about this old rumor, yeah? Alright, boys, so first off, we have an article from Eurogamer. This was written on December 19th, 2000, so it's an old rumor, and their source is WorldNet Daily. One of the most ridiculous stories we've come across recently are reports on WorldNet Daily that Saddam Hussein has been buying up as many as 4,000 PlayStation 2 consoles, as well as serving as a great source of entertainment for his elite Republican Guard soldiers. Now that they are unable to rape, murder, and torture Kurds and Kuwaitis, they are apparently going to be bundled together into a sort of crude supercomputer and used for a variety of military applications. Yes, we were rather skeptical too. In what sounds suspiciously like a Sony marketing ploy rather than the words of even the most unintelligent of military intelligence experts, an unidentified source is reported as saying that most Americans don't realize that each PlayStation 2 contains a 32-bit CPU, every bit as powerful as the processor found in most desktop and laptop computers. He goes on to claim that the graphics capabilities of a PlayStation are staggering, 5 times more powerful than that of a typical graphics workstation, and roughly 15 times more powerful than the graphics card found in most PCs. Pull the other one. It has jingle bells on it. Okay. With a remarkably straight face, WND add that a single PlayStation can generate up to 75 million polygons per second. Polygons, as noted in the DIA report, are the basic units used to generate the surface of 3D models. Extremely useful in military design and modeling applications. Bundled PlayStation computers can also be used to calculate ballistic data for long-range missiles or in the design of nuclear weapons. Iraq has long had difficulty calculating the potential yield of nuclear devices, a critical requirement in designing such weapons. Networking these computers might provide a method for correcting this deficiency. Perhaps the most amusing claim is that an integrated bundle of 12 to 15 PlayStations could provide enough computer power to control an Iraqi unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV. It sounds rather fishy to us, and we somehow doubt that we can reasonably blame old Saddam for ruining Christmas for thousands of gamers around the world by buying up their consoles. Sony seemed to have done a good job of fouling up supplies all by themselves, without any aid from third world dictators. Still, it's a funny little story for the silly season. Now I'll take a look at an article from Medium. As we gear up for a new generation of consoles to launch, I'm spending a lot of time looking back on previous launches, blah, 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 blah. But one thing you might not remember is the bizarre controversy that erupted before the console shipped. The Japanese military threatened to step in and prevent Sony from exporting the machine because they thought it might threaten national security. It's a plot worthy of a Metal Gear Solid game, so let's unravel what happened. PlayStation 2 was positioned from the outset as the superior piece of hardware. Marketing trumpeted it as Emotion Engine CPU, which was built for a single purpose, pushing polygons for 3D gaming. The company's initial tech demo, where they reanimated a scene from Final Fantasy VIII, demonstrated a level of detail like nothing the gaming world has ever seen. All that power caught the eye of Japan's trade ministry. In April 2000, they issued an edict. If Sony wanted to ship the PS2 abroad, they would need to request a special permit. The law as written required any exporter who shipped the hardware with potential military applications the fucking PS2 worth more than $472 outside the country to obtain permission from the government or face up to 5 years in prison. With a sticker price of $376, that meant any kind of bulk PS2 shipments would run afoul of the law. If the company couldn't convince their government otherwise, American gamers wouldn't have a chance to play Ridge Racer 5 or Time Splitters on launch day. Sony applied for a permit to get its new console to the rest of the world, but a few countries were blacklisted. Libya, Iran, Iraq, and North Korea were considered potentially likely to use the console for nefarious purposes. Here in the US, we got the hardware on October 26th as planned. What exactly? Blah, 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 blah. Let's go down a little bit. Japan had reasons to be suspicious about foreign actors repurposing civilian technology for military means. The North Korean submarine sunk in 1998 was found to be running a number of Japanese-made communications radar devices. While a single PS2 probably couldn't aim a missile in real time, networking them together hypothetically could. And yeah, we mentioned this. WorldNet Daily fanned the flames when it reported that Iraq violated the ban on December 2000, bringing approximately 4,000 PS2 units. They claimed that Saddam Hussein intended to connect them together to pilot unmanned drones and perform nuclear test simulations. Intelligence agencies denied any nefarious intentions, and the story quickly faded from the public eye. But the idea of networking PlayStations to do something other than play games was planted, and would soon bear some fruit. In 2002, Sony released an odd product, Linux for the PS2, packaged with 40 gigabytes hard drive, a USB keyboard, and a mouse. It lets consumers transform their consoles into personal computers. I didn't know they did that. That's kind of cool. It was bizarre. It was a bizarre venture that didn't catch on. But a group at the National Center for Supercomputing Applications saw the cost to performance ratio for the console's processors and decided to do an experiment. They networked 60 to 70 PS2s, built a library to perform a variety of tasks, and distributed them across their processors, and fired it up. It worked, but not well, and a few baked-in hardware bugs caused it to require rebooting regularly. The team abandoned the Frankenstein supercomputer and moved on to other ideas. That wasn't the end of the project, though. In 2010, the U.S. military purchased 1,760 PlayStation 3s and linked them together at the Air Force Research Laboratory to create what at the time was the 33rd most powerful super... What the fuck? So they actually did it with PS3s? Holy shit! Dubbed the Condor cluster, the agglomeration of PS3s could perform 500 trillion floating point operations per second and was used for analyzing high-definition satellite imagery. The Department of Defense estimated that purchasing comparable hardware to construct the cluster from scratch could cost 10 times as much. While most of the PS3-based supercomputers have been disassembled and sold off, one still lives at the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, where it is used to run a variety of simulations. Researchers used what they learned to develop a new generation of chips that were used in supercomputers like Roadrunner at New Mexico's Los Alamos National Laboratory. What the fuck? I mean, I came into this just fucking around because of the PS2 thing, but holy shit. They were actually able to build one out of PS3s. Now granted, that's not PS2s. It's not. But what the fuck? I think that's all I can handle for today. Toodles.
You know, I don't think that was the real Santa Claus. Oh, no shit, Sherlock.